AlphaFold is not the only game in town anymore. Facebook's AI program is doing it too. And that means that there are people out there who can play with proteins the way that we play with Legos. That's good for them, might be good for us. And it's also good for our future AI competition. And competition is the wrong word. The future AI doom bot machine. That's not what they're trying to build. But, man, how do you guarantee that they're not going to do that? You don't guarantee it. You move forward. We move forward. This is Retraice, segment number 41 for Saturday, November 5th, 2022. It's 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Retraice is about what's going on out there. We're going to talk news. We're going to talk hypotheses, H7, 8, and 9. That's Betterment, Intelligence, and Darkness. Betterment, some things make the future better than the past. Doesn't sound controversial. Dig into it. Think about it for a second. You'll struggle. Intelligence, there are intelligence differences. This sounds controversial these days, but it's not. There are intelligence differences. There are smart people and there are dumb people, and there's a wide spectrum from the smartest to the dumbest, although I think it was Russell or Einstein who said there's, we're a very narrow slice of the intelligence. Like there's not a big, anyway. Hypothesis 9 is darkness. There is a pervasive darkness in humans, even amongst the good guys, even amongst us, right? You and me. We're the good guys, right? I don't know you. I'm a good guy. All right. Let's start with Betterment. AlphaFold's new rival, Meta AI, predicts shape of 600 million proteins. Nature.com. Ewan Callaway. Ewan Callaway has written most of the articles we're going to talk about here tonight. This is November 1st, a few days ago at Nature.com. The subhead is microbial molecules from soil, seawater, and human bodies are among the planet's least understood. And from a 2020 Nature article that Ewan Callaway also wrote, what are we talking about with proteins? Okay, so the structure, predicting the structure of proteins is basically like you go from DNA to a three-dimensional thing, and it's very unpredictable how the DNA sequence folds into it becomes a folded 3D structure, a protein. It's hard to predict, but a year or two ago, DeepMind over at Google, AlphaFold figured it out like really high accuracy, like basically changed the whole game of molecular biology and using deep learning, deep neural networks. Anyway, now Facebook is doing it. They're using a large language model. I don't know if the original AlphaFold did basically the same thing, like using a language model to predict, but you're taking something that's designed to predict text and you're just, shifting it over a little bit in terms of its domain to predict protein structure. And 600 million new proteins. The thing is, not even a couple years ago, like in July, MIT Technology Review's headline or article title was DeepMind has predicted the structure of almost every protein known to science in July, and now it's November, and AI and Meta, you can't call them Meta, it's Facebook AI, and they're no joke. Like they've got resources, and Jan LeCun is at Facebook, and you might not think of Facebook as an AI company, but they are definitely punching above their social weight in that field. I don't know what I mean by that. 600 million new proteins. The original DeepMind guys did like 100 or 200 million when they, in July when they published every known protein. I think it's the big jump is from like biological to non-biological is where the 600 million comes in. But I don't know. It says soil, seawater, and human bodies. Microbial molecules, microbes. I don't know. Anyway, 600 million more. From Meta, and it's the like from Wikipedia as the polypeptide chain is being synthesized by ribosome, the linear chain begins to fold into its three-dimensional structure. Basically, just think of DNA as like a paper tape, and then how do you get from that paper tape to a three-dimensional thing? How do you 3D print on the basis of that information? And the answer is the protein folding process, and that's what these new AI tools are. So what does this have to do with betterment? Some things make the future better than the past. This is better, right? It's better to know more. It's better to and the thing is, they say in an axiom of molecular biology is structure is function. So the shape of it is the function of it. Like that's what's going to tell you if you know what you're talking about, and if you understand these things, it's going to tell you what it does or what it can do, what the protein can do. That's better, right? Like if we're turning biology and medicine into an information science where it's like we can search strings of characters and know what they turn into when they're 3D printed by nature or by us in a lab. Right? Somebody's going to cure a disease with that. Someone's going to prevent the disease with that, right? Someone's going to replace a limb with that eventually, right? That's good. Betterment. Some things make the future better than the past. Betterment is vague. There are definitely mutually exclusive definitions of betterment. There are going to be people in the world who think, it's Boko Haram, right? Like books are forbidden. Most of the world are going to say, yeah, books are good, but not Boko Haram. So there are mutually exclusive definitions of betterment. But in general, knowing more is better. I wrote that down in my notes, like just in case I forget. Like, and just make sure you don't forget that generally knowing more is better. All right, what about intelligence? There are intelligence differences. Well, I don't know what it says about the human level intelligence that AlphaFold made the breakthrough. And this happens anytime there's a breakthrough, somebody did it, right? You can talk a lot about like what goes into a breakthrough, and I'm going to not because I'll just go way over. But anyway, there's, AlphaFold at DeepMind, they did it first. The Meta guys are now grabbing up and it's all open source. Like they open source the code, they open source the proteins, the 3D information. And so you take that and you innovate, right? You go from 0 to 1, and then you go from 1 to n, and both are important. But there have to be intelligence differences revealed somewhere in there. Does the person who gets there first, or the team who gets there first, are they smarter? We generally think so, but then you wouldn't want to like sit them down at a table and say, over here on the left we have DeepMind, over here on the right we have Meta AI, over here on the left we have the smart guys, and over here we have the not so smart guys. Just so we know who's who, just so we know the hierarchy. You don't want to do that to people. I don't want to be sat next to Jan LeCun. I don't want to be sat next to the AI guys at Facebook. Here we have the podcaster and the guys who just published 600 million protein structures. So the podcaster and the proteins. Now let's just write on the blackboard who's smarter. But there are intelligence differences. We have to accept this. We can't. It's significant. Okay. Darkness. There is a pervasive darkness in humans, even amongst the good guys. So in Bostrom's Superintelligence book, and in a couple of works by Eliezer Yudkowsky before Superintelligence, and I think maybe the earliest one was Intelligence Explosion Microeconomics, this thing, cracking the protein folding problem, was the first step in an AI takeover of the Earth. But in the scenario drawn up by Yudkowsky and then sort of paraphrased and simplified and elaborated by Bostrom, the AI did it. Now, did the AI do this? No, not by itself. We did it using AI, in quotes, and it's really hard sometimes to figure out what's AI. I like the definition that we've talked about before in Age of AI by Kissinger and Eric Schmidt and another guy, where normal computer code is instructions for getting a precise answer, and AI code is instructions for improving an imprecise answer. Unless you're going to just talk about random stuff, unless you're going to talk about AI as being like biological creatures and stuff, it's like, it's super, it has its own, it thinks on its own and it has its own motivations, and then that gets back to age 12, which is computer control, which is that right now some humans know other humans better than they know themselves, but the motivation that's in humans could occur in the code or somehow be put into what is the AI, and then the computers might take control. Whereas right now that first group of humans is controlling the second group of humans. But anyway, put on your evil hat. Darkness. Can you think of maybe one way how that knowing. What do they know now? They know it's so hard that it's not talked about in quite the clear way. What do they know? These protein folding geniuses and subgeniuses. Geniuses at DeepMind, subgeniuses at Meta. No, it's so ridiculous. It's not true at all. So many things go into like, the economics of it is huge. It's not, it's not that, but it's funny to think about because you have to admit the intelligence differences are there. Whether you're actually seeing them in this case is a totally separate question, and I don't at all have an opinion about it. What do they know? They know how to take. They know what sequence of amino acids, right? That's what DNA is. Will lead to what three-dimensional structures, and structure is function in molecular biology, and as we've learned from the 2020 Nature article. And so they know now how to take a sequence of amino acids and predict what function those amino acids can be 3D printed into. It's not 3D printing, but it's analogous, right? It's the same sort of thing. It's like nature's version of 3D printing is DNA to proteins. I mean, they can make superbugs. They can make they can't yet, but like this is where this could go. It's just one thing. I mean, the more you know about humans in general, even if you don't engineer any sort of evil technology to kill specific ones or groups of ones or all of them, the more you know, this goes back to what's better. In general, I said, the more in general, knowing is better. But only in general. I was going to put this in the notes, I forgot. But Bostrom did at least one paper, and he's talked about it a lot, about information hazards. And it's in the superintelligence book as well. That there might be things that we don't want to know. The black ball and the urn analogy or metaphor. Technology. We keep reaching in and taking out little technology discoveries. We just keep doing it. But one of these days, we might pull out one that's like really bad for us. Nuclear weapons might have been it. I mean, if a few things had gone differently, we might have destroyed the Earth. And the next one might be, maybe it's protein folding. I mean, they said years ago, Yudkowsky and Bostrom both agreed years ago, that this protein folding problem was clearly the first and crucial step. And at the time, it hadn't been solved by humans. And even some people, I saw Yudkowsky on Twitter, he was saying, when at the time that AlphaFold became public, he said on Twitter, I declare victory. Like everyone kept naysaying and saying, like, even superintelligence couldn't do this thing. Humans are going to have to do it. And blah, blah, blah. And like, here we go. It's happened way ahead of schedule and kind of involved both. Put on your evil hat, man. And go back, at the top. Some humans can now play with proteins like Legos. This is good for them, but you can't do it. Who's controlling that? I mean, I don't want to be like, it's generally, everything's being published. I only know about it because it was published by DeepMind and then published by Meta, the results of the work. But this could go in a different direction. It's not really clear how or why or what the risks might be, but people have thought about this. So maybe it's good for us. It's definitely good for the people who control it. Unless control shifts to the machines themselves. That's H12, computer control. And it's definitely good for any future AI that seeks to destroy us. Good night, everybody. Enjoy that series of thoughts. I am of a fretful temperament. That's the great phrase that Bostrom uses at the beginning. I think it's at the beginning of superintelligence. I just don't see this as in the Kurzweil view. It'll be fine. Like, this is good. This is progress. The more we know, no matter what, we're making progress. The march of about the definition of progress. You try and do it. I was reading something today, and they thought they did it, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. They took for granted so many things. Proteins like Legos. References will be in the PDF notes. This is Retraice segment number 41. RETRAICE.com. Next segment is tomorrow, same time, 11 p.m., 8 Pacific. Signing off.